Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of the Simple Knit podcast. My name is Elina and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Simple Knit Co. Welcome to my little corner of YouTube where I hang out and tell you all the things that I've been making recently, mostly knitting. So I hope you enjoy seeing what I've been making. If you're a new viewer, thank you so much for checking out the podcast and welcome. And if you are a returning viewer, it's wonderful to see you again. I hope you're doing really well. I'm coming to you from a very sunny Sunday morning in Brisbane, Australia. It is Sunday the 1st of March, technically the first day of autumn, but it's going to be very warm for a while yet. So won't be getting the jumpers out just yet. So yeah, I hope you've all been really well since the last episode and don't really know what else to say at this early juncture. I will show you before we get into the knitting content. I do have a new mug, which is very exciting. My mum got this for me. We found this at the Mary Ryan bookshop at New Farm, if you're local to Brisbane, which is I think one of the best bookshops in Brisbane. Definitely my favourite. Mary Ryan is kind of a chain of bookshops. I don't know if it's outside of Brisbane or if it's just in the Brisbane area, but the one at New Farm is amazing. So this beautiful mug, it's a Robert Gordon ceramics and it's a collaboration with the children's book author and illustrator Alison Lester. And if you were a child, probably in the 90s, like I was, this is a scene from her picture book Magic Beach, which was one of my favourite picture books of all time. When I was a child, I was deeply obsessed. Let's see if I can get it to focus. There we go. Of this little girl with a hat that looks like watermelon, and I used to always hope I'd see that hat at the shops. But yeah, it is absolutely beautiful. I almost cried when I saw it. My mum bought it for me because she's my mum. And yeah, I'm obsessed with this mug. It's also beautiful to drink out of, but very nostalgic. If you have kids, Alison Lester picture books are amazing. They're very kind of whimsical and imaginative. There's just one about it's kind of vaguely I think about her childhood, but it's about a farm. I think it's just called Our Farm or My Farm. I loved that one, but Magic Beach was definitely my favourite. So I am deeply obsessed with this mug at the moment. So you find your favourite mug, pour yourself a drink, and let's get on to talking about what you're actually here for, which is the knitting. So I actually have a few finished bits and bobs to show you this week. What will I start with? Let's start with the one you haven't seen at all. So I cast this on Friday night and finished it on Saturday. It was a super quick knit. I haven't woven my ends in, as you can see. I will, I promise. Well, I have to because this is a gift. So I made this little brown beret for my mum. It's her birthday next week, and she's always kind of liked beret style hats, and I thought this colour would be really good with her colouring. And I wanted to make it for a hat for myself, but it's kind of the same colour as my hair. So I didn't think it would really be the best for a hat for me. So more than happy to make something for one of the most knit-worthy people I know, my mum. Just pull this end in a bit. There we go. So I knit this using the Best Beret by James N. Watts, which is a pretty popular pattern at the moment, and rightly so. It's a really well-written, well-executed pattern. I had seen it and thought, oh yeah, that's cute. And then I saw Jill from the Good Witch Knits podcast. It's not an episode of this podcast if I don't mention Jill at least once. And also Melanie from the Cozy Cardigans podcast had both made this beret pattern, and it looked really good. So I grabbed one as well. And the pattern is amazing. The way that James has written the increases and decreases, they're kind of distributed amongst the stitches in a way that there's not a line of increasing and decreasing on the hat. It's just kind of completely fluid fabric. This does need a serious block, but like, look at that. You don't get any line of increasing or decreasing stitches. It's just completely seamless, and that is, I mean, it's just amazing. There are two size options, but there's also 2 options for beret silhouette and for the top. So I did just the classic silhouette, so this is the slightly less voluminous version, and I did it just with a single stalk on the top. There is an option for 2 stalks too. You start with an I-cord. The only modification I had to make to this pattern, I knit the body in the recommended needle size, which is a 3.5mm needle, but in order to get the right circumference, particularly my mum has a slightly bigger head than me, I had to go up to a 5.5mm needle for the I-cord cast on. So let me just pop it on so you can get the effect. It is a little bit, as I said, a little bit big for me. But if I just pop it on, you get the idea. It's really cute. It holds its shape really well. You can wear it kind of however you want, but adorable. It's a super, super cute hat. The yarn I used was it was a limited edition release yarn from, oh sorry, I have beret hair. Doesn't help that my head is super sweaty. So my hair is not, there we go. What was I saying? The yarn. It was a limited release yarn from Fibersmith in Melbourne. I've got the little ball band here. So it was Natural Australian Alpaca and Merino. It was a DK weight yarn. And it says, blah, 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 fleece from alpaca raised in New South Wales, blended with a touch of Australian merino wool in Bendigo. So I believe it was like an acquaintance knew someone who had an alpaca farm, and Leslie from Fibersmith got some alpaca, blended it with some merino, and made this really nice yarn, all in natural colours. And the yarn is really lovely. It created a really nice, dense but not heavy fabric at this gauge. But I'm not sure if I just got a couple of bad balls, but there were a whole heap of really weak points in this yarn, and I've used a bunch of Fibersmith yarns before. I've never had this problem before. I think it might have just been either these particular balls or this particular blend, but inside this hat there are 12 points where the yarn was so thin it was about to break. So there was only like, it's a 3-ply DK weight yarn, and I don't really know anything about spinning yarn, but like at all of these points there'd only be like 1 ply. One of the 3 plies would actually still be connected, and that would be all that was holding it together. So it was pretty obvious when this had happened, because you'd pull it out of the ball, it would break. And so inside of it looks like kind of a weird jellyfish octopus. So I'm definitely going to have my work cut out for me weaving in all those ends. But all the other points, it made me a little bit nervous, but I just tested the yarn and it still felt fine. I wondered, because the first break was on the outside, if a little critter had eaten it, but it was all the way through the 2 skeins that I had right in the middle as well. So I don't think it was anything from my storage of the yarn or anything. I think it was just the yarn, which is fine. Like, it's a little bit annoying at the end to weave in the ends, but it was obvious where the weak spots were, so I just broke them and kept going. And for some reason this alpaca didn't want to, even though this isn't superwash treated yarn or anything, it didn't want to splice together. Sometimes you can spit splice alpaca, but this just did not want to. But so I'm going to give this hat a bit of a block first and then weave in all those ends. But overall, I'm really happy. I hope my mum likes it. She's my mum, so she has to wear it, even if she doesn't, which I think she will. And yeah, Best Beret by James N. Watts. So that was, you hadn't seen that at all, on and off the needles without you seeing. Now the other finished object I have this period between podcasts is old whip that I kind of put aside because I was sick of looking at it, and I just felt inspired the other week, well last week really, to pick it up and finish it. All I had left to do was the sleeves and yeah, and the neckband. and at the beginning of the week I just felt really inspired to finish this project. So, oh yeah. So here it is. I would be wearing it, but it is too hot. So this is the Yuri top by Amy Miller. It's a pattern that was published in issue 17 of Ami Risu magazine. It was like a pink coloured sample. I think it was in one of the Ami Risu brand yarns, or maybe it was a Quince company. It was like a wool silk blend yarn. For this one, I also used a Fibersmith yarn, the Fibersmith Show Today. This is their alpaca linen silk base in the colourway, which was called Naturally Dyed with Eucalyptus and Iron. It's a couple of years old. They don't do this colourway. Leslie doesn't dye this colourway anymore, but it is beautiful. It's a beautiful kind of warmish, light grey colour, and that's showing up really nicely on camera right now. So yeah, as I said, I started this like August last year or something. I was looking at my Ravelry page. Yeah, actually no, I started it when I went on holidays last year, so in August. And I just kind of burnt out on it. I think I was a bit just tired and overwhelmed in life in general, and just didn't really want to look at this project anymore. What it was I just wanted to cast on something new. I think I was working quite monogamously on one project, and I just wanted a change. So I put it aside because I knew I would like the finished object, and I didn't want to become resentful towards my knit, so I just put it away. And this week I felt really inspired to pick it back up. So all I had left to do was these little sleeve caps and the neckband. So these sleeves are basically worked all in short rows. I did substitute in German short rows for wrap and turns, which I just think they are a little bit flatter. They're not quite as bulky, so I thought they would sit a little bit better on the sleeve. The first sleeve I did do, for most of it I knit on my Licker interchangeable needles, but they have quite a, they have a really good strong cable, but it's not very flexible. And because you were working, and I was working at Magic Loop, because I didn't have a 12-inch, if I would have had a 12-inch circular in a 3.5mm size, that would have been absolutely perfect for these sleeves, but I didn't, and I didn't really want to wait to have to order one and for it to come. I just wanted to start knitting on this right away. When I felt like picking it up again. I don't have any, there's not like a yarn shop I can just pop to and get 12-inch circulars, because the local yarn shops in Brisbane don't stock 12-inch circulars. So I would have to order them online anyway. So I did them on Magic Loop, and this is the first one I did on that Licker interchangeable one with quite a rigid cable, and it was doing the short rows across the top of the shoulder was tough going. Those needles did not like it. There is a little bit of a line. I still need to block this. There's a little bit of a line in the stitches, you can see. Well, I can see where the Magic Loop was, but that will block out, I'm sure. And then the other side I switched to using my higher sharp interchangeable needles, and the cable for those is much more flexible, and it was way easier. So there you go. I used the recommended needle sizes, so a 3.5mm needle for most of it, and then a 2.75 for the ribbing. I've got nice tubular bind-offs. What else? Oh yeah, and then you just pick up the neckband and do what I would call double crochets, what the Americans would call a single crochet, all the way around, and you have this very cute top. I knit the size extra large. I probably could have gotten away with doing the size large. It wouldn't have given me, this is only designed to have kind of 2 or 3 centimeters of positive ease, and I wanted, because this is a kind of a slightly more like cooler weather garment for me, I wanted to be able to wear like a shirt underneath it. I wanted it to just have a little bit more positive ease, so I knit the size extra large, and I'm really happy actually with the fit. You'll have to believe me, and I promise I will wear it for you when it's finally cool enough. But I'm really happy with the fit. It's still like nice and relaxed through the waist. This waistband hits me about on where my natural waist is, even though there are no there's no shaping to it. It still just hits at quite a good spot on my body, and it's not constrictive. I was worried. The main reason I did go up to the extra large is because I do have quite broad shoulders, and I think shoulder wise I did make the right choice size wise. So yeah, that is the Yuri top finally finished. It's really satisfying to just get it off the needles and have it ready to go, so as soon as weather permits I can wear it, which is very exciting. I only still have one old whip that I couldn't look at, so I might get that one out soon. So yeah, Yuri top, super happy with that one. And I do have one half finished object as well. The socks I'm knitting for my best friend. I finished the first one. They look ridiculous. I don't have sock blockers big enough, and he has size 13 feet. So they look kind of crazy, but I promise these will fit his foot. These are just excuse me, I have yarn up my nose. Podcasting problems. These are just a 2x2 ribbed sock using Knit Picks Felici in the Acrobat colorway. I did, as I said, these are 72 stitches. I did them cuff down, so I just knit the leg for about as long as I thought I would need, because I was worried doing it cuff down that because the foot was going to be so long, I was a bit worried about running out of yarn. So I kind of knit it to where I thought was appropriate. Did a little eye of partridge heel, which looks awesome. Like, I wasn't lazy and just did a slip stitch heel. I did a proper eye of partridge, and it looks amazing. And then regular kind of gusset. Then I've got 2x2 rib on the top of the foot and just stocking it on the bottom down to a little wedgie toe. And I had 2 stripes of colour left. So I was really stoked with that. I was a little bit worried about playing yarn chicken because it just stresses me out. I hate running out of yarn. So yeah, I just had this purple, a tiny bit of the purple, and then there was a yellow stripe and a little bit of the grey. Actually, I have them right here. That was my little leftovers. So yeah, I was really happy that I kind of got just about the size basically as right as it could be. And they're good and stretchy. To be honest, he'll probably roll the tops over, I reckon, when he wears them. So super cute. Yeah, and it's a sock. It's an improvised sock. I know he'll wear them. I've made him a pair of socks before, and he does wear them all the time, so I know they will be loved. And Felici is really great yarn to use for gifts for people, because you can throw these in the tumble dryer and they won't, shrink or do anything weird. Like, they are pretty indestructible, and the yarn kind of felts on itself a little bit as you wear it as well, so they are quite hard wearing socks too, so you don't have to worry about the recipient being too precious with them. So that is, and I have started the second sock. I think it's in my purse somewhere, and I think I'm down to about here on the second sock. But yeah, really great keeping your purse knitting, and I was actually surprised how quickly I got this done, given that it is very long. So yes, that is my very righteous gift knit, over halfway done. And that's kind of all I've been working on since I last saw you. I have been working on my Klein jumper. So this is I've showed you the back piece that I had finished last time. I've just started the sleeve decreases on the front piece. So yeah, it's still chugging along, and I'll probably try and get a bit more focused work done on this. But yeah, that's kind of all the knitting I've been working on, and it's very satisfying to have so many things finished. Yeah, it just feels good to be able to just have the thing finished and off needles, and yeah, it's been a while. Maybe it's been a while since I've had a good like run of finishes, but feels good. Finishing things does always feel good. Trying to think, I haven't really been up to much else. I did read, since I've last seen you, I've read both of those Hilary Mantel books that I was gushing about last time. So if you didn't watch the last episode, which is fine, this week, the third book in Hilary Mantel's Thomas Cromwell series is being released. And I have not been excited about a book coming out since I was at high school and Harry Potter was coming out. If I could queue up for a midnight release of this book, I probably would, but because I am an adult with responsibilities, I will be going to work and it will be coming to me in the post. And because it's been a while since I'd read the first two books, I thought I would read both of the books, I was surprised how quickly I read over 1,000 pages. The first book's about 650 pages and the second one's about 450 or so in my editions. And I read them in a couple of weeks, which is probably proof that I could be reading more than I do in my day-to-day life. Because I still managed to be watching TV shows and getting knitting done. It wasn't like I didn't feel like I'd put my entire life on hold to read these books. And I still read a bunch in a very short period of time. So probably proof I could be reading a little bit more consistently. And I also watched the BBC TV adaptation of Wolf Hall, which is incredible. I have watched it before, but watching it again, it's so good. The production was incredible. I remember when it first came out, my friend and I were so excited. We kind of read everything we could about it. And it was a very historically accurate set. Like, they didn't use any, because I guess these days cameras are so much better. We have great high definition cameras that can work in low light. They were able to not use any artificial light sources. So, like stage lighting. By artificial I mean stage lighting. So they just use like natural light coming through windows in stone buildings and tallow candles, and that was all they used. I think something like their tallow candle budget was like £10,000 or something. Crazy. And like all the costumes were hand stitched using as close to period materials as they could access. Like, it is spectacular. All the actors in it are amazing. I've been wondering why Claire Foy looks so familiar to me, and it's because she plays Anne Boleyn in Wolf Hall. But yeah, it's really well acted. Might be a bit, they don't do a lot of exposition, so you kind of have to work out who everyone is as you go. So if you aren't, I still wasn't really sure, couldn't really tell a lot of the noblemen apart, but maybe that was the point. I don't know. It's really good though. So it's only 6 episodes. If you're in Australia, it's on Stan. If you're in the rest of the world, it's on a streaming service, I'm sure. But highly recommend that. I also started watching this Japanese-British crossover series on Netflix called Giri Haji, which is like Duty and Shame or something like that. And it's like a transcontinental detective gangster drama. It's really, really good. It's beautifully produced. The actors are all amazing. I've like had my jaw on the floor multiple times, things I did not see coming. That's really, really good. From the trailer, I thought it looked really cool, but it's even better watching it. So highly recommend that if you're looking for a new series to get into. And there's only like 8 hour-long episodes, so that's not that many episodes. Don't know where I was going with that sentence, but sometimes it's fun to just start one anyway. But that's kind of all I have to share with you. Please pop in the comments below. Tell me what you're making at the moment. Have you finished anything? Tell me what you're making. Tell me whatever you'd like to tell me. Do you have any book recommendations, TV recommendations? I'm always open. Yeah, what are you making? What patterns are you liking at the moment? Tell me whatever you want. I'm now just rambling because finishing these podcasts is really hard. I think because I guess like we don't really script them, so you kind of talk about all the things you have to talk about, and then you need to have some sort of conclusion, and it's quite hard to conclude, which is why I spent the last minute talking about how hard it is to finish a podcast. But yes, hit me up down below. Come say hi on Instagram or Ravelry. Yeah, share whatever you want. How are you? How are you? In a very Tobias Funke kind of way. How are you? Yeah, it's been great to spend a little bit of time with you today talking about some knitting. Love to be a massive yarn geek. And thank you so much for hanging out and indulging me in my yarn geekiness. Take care, have a really good week, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye!